Whether you think you can or can't, just know you're right. Arrange your mindset and stand at different heights. Yeah, we move the needle from E to full.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Move the Needle. I'm your host, Randall Rutledge, and in today's episode, I have a very special guest for you, and so special I had to bring my handy-dandy notepad so I don't forget all of his accomplishments. We'll start out with probably his most notable accomplishments, and that's the fact that he's a two-time world champion in the super featherweight division. Welcome to the show, Mr. Carlos Hernández.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here on your show, and it's an honor. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So, Carlos, I guess we'll start with, I know you grew up in L.A., but you're originally from El Salvador.
My family's from El Salvador. I was born and raised in L.A., did live in El Salvador as a kid for a bit. During the summers, living over there with Grandpa and with family. But, mainly my life has been in L.A., but from Salvadorian descent.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. And obviously most known as a boxer, professional boxer here in America, two-time world champ. Fought some big names, Floyd Mayweather, Pacquiao, a couple other guys that people definitely know of. But take us back to when it all started, when you first got into boxing. What really drew you to the sport and got you going as a young man?
The thing was just being always fighting in the street, getting in trouble. I was like that menace at home. And so I just didn't have an outlet. And my father's like, you know what? I don't want this guy. Yeah, I grew up in a bad area, in the beginning. And so my father moved us to another area where we started to become, a little more gang infested. And so my father felt that he needed to do something, even though my father was always busy. He was sleeping, working, my mother as well. So they put me into sports, and I did a few sports, which was swimming, karate, taekwondo, soccer, and I didn't like soccer though, but I love soccer. That's my favorite sport, but I just wasn't good, and so I thought boxing was the ideal sport for me at 15 years old. I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. I love boxing because it's an individual sport, right?
Absolutely.
It's all on you.
Exactly. You can't blame anybody but yourself. You could blame the team. It's like, oh, well, I didn't win because he did. Dude, you're the one in there. Mm-hmm. You're the one with another guy, and it's no one's fault.
Yeah. It's you and another man going after it.
It's so honest, brutally honest.
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. And it's also a sport where you pretty much have to win, right? Like, you really can't lose in boxing.
The thing is, you could lose but still win, if you understand. That's one of the things that I've tried to teach my kids is, learning how to lose. And that means you win. It's a winning kind of mindset that I want to have, even if you lose. You have to find the positive of the loss.
Mm-hmm. You either win or you learn. There's no
such
thing as
correct, exactly.
No such thing as losing. But I always admired boxers, one, because it's all on you. You got to go out there and win, right? You really do. To stay relevant in the boxing community, you have to have a lot of wins and not a lot of losses, right?
That's true.
And like Tom Brady, he can go out there and he can lose 4 games in a row.
Exactly. He could lose and then come back next week. Boxing is not like that. Boxing is not a game. Boxing, games are a game of marbles, a game of tennis, but boxing, you can't play boxing. Boxing is it's a serious sport / business.
Awesome. It definitely is, and I didn't bring you up here to just talk about your losses. We're gonna get to your big wins. You got some really big wins in your career, but I'm a really big believer that you learn more from your losses than you do your wins.
Absolutely. In fact, if I may, I think the best fight I've had where I've been recognized a lot is from a loss against Mayweather, and it has brought me a lot of attention, a lot of praise, and so I think that loss was a win.
And I watched that fight. It was a very, very good fight. You almost won the fight. Watching it, I watched it, in replay, so I knew you didn't win, obviously. But watching it, I almost got caught up for a second, like maybe he's gonna win this fight. I started getting excited. Very good fight, and some of the things that I noticed from that was, for one, it was Floyd Pretty Boy Mayweather, not Money Mayweather at the time. You fought him in his hometown, which I thought was very interesting, to go to another boxer's. He's the champ at the time, right, undefeated, and you go to his hometown, his home field. You fight him. He's taller than you. He's got a longer reach than you. He's bigger than you.
The bets were like 35-1 or 40-1 that he was going to knock me out in the third round.
And how long did you go?
We went 12 rounds.
12 rounds.
Yeah.
So you went 12 rounds.
I'm the only one that's given him his official knockdown.
Yep.
And so that's a big deal. I'm actually ranked number 4 out of all the fighters that he's faced. I'm ranked number 4 as the fighter that has landed the most on Floyd.
Yeah, landed some really good punches early on, some really good shots in the 6th round as well. And gave him a run for his money. You could tell at first he came in pretty cocky.
Yeah.
He came in pretty confident that he was going to knock you out.
Well, the fight before is really what made him pound per pound. At that time, he was pound per pound the best fighter in the world. And so he just knocked out Diego Corrales. And Diego Corrales, to me, was an exceptional fighter. And for Mayweather to easily destroy him, manhandle him, it was kind of like, all right, my gosh, you're going to fight the guy who just destroyed a badass guy. So I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
I don't care who he is. He's a man, and I'm just going to prepare. And, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically, I was well prepared for that fight.
Yeah, and you could tell. And I think one of the things I noticed from watching really all of your fights, right, is your opponent, a lot of times, they had more skill. They were a little bigger, they were a little taller, a little longer.
Yeah.
But you always had more heart, right?
Well, and it was just more of that kind of oomph that I had inside of me, because I had something to prove. I was brought up in a diverse city, which is mainly Hispanic, Mexican, and I basically had to fight for my identity, and so I had a chip on my shoulder, because in boxing, knowing that you're Salvadoran, people don't really care for you. I could have said I'm a Mexican fighter and had arenas filled, but I chose to stay with my true colors, my true identity, and let people know that there's a Salvadoran American fighting, representing El Salvador in Los Angeles.
Love it, love it. And I know in the boxing world, you were obviously the first person from El Salvador to win a world championship.
Correct, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it might have been the first person from El Salvador to win a world championship in any sport.
Any sport.
Yeah. So not just making history in the boxing community, but making history for your country.
Correct.
Right. So since we're talking about that, let's talk about those title fights. Let's talk about those championships. Obviously, a moment and life-changing moment for you, right? Something you've worked hard for a long, long time. Finally comes to fruition. You get that world championship title. The president of El Salvador is ringside to support you and support your country, and you win it. You take it home. Bring us back to that moment of how was it? What was the experience like?
Well, I didn't sleep. It was just I was in awe. I had the president come to my bed, my room, my suite. There was a party, after party in my room. But not only that, I had to go stay with the busloads of people that went from LA to Las Vegas to watch that fight, and so I had to spend time and give my presence, stay there with my people there that went to support me, and basically thank them for their support.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And one of the things that I noticed just from doing some research on you, and I think it was when I was watching the fight between Floyd Mayweather, I heard the announcer, and I believe it was George Foreman. He was talking about how you like to visualize your fights ahead of time, right? And you believe in visualization. Talk a little bit about, how visualization essentially played into that. And, obviously you won a world championship, or you're the champ. I bet you probably visualized that before it happened.
Of course, yes. In fact, I visualized it when I was around 16 years old. I wasn't sure if it was going to be boxing. I didn't know, but I did put on my friend's cassette that he still has, and I put Carlos Hernández, champion of the world. And to this day, he still has it. And it was something that I felt that I needed to do for a country that was going through turmoil, through a civil war, and I needed to. I just wanted to do something, bring some positiveness in light, because of the gang epidemic that was happening as well after the Civil War. So it was El Salvador went through a lot of suffering. And I wanted, basically, because I knew I grew up there as a kid, going back there, living there for a while with family and playing with the kids, and those kids that are not there anymore, they're not men anymore because they were killed during the war. So it was I wanted to do something. I wanted to bring something positive for our country.
Bring honor to your family and your country. And
correct, yes.
Beautiful stuff. Love that. I want to talk about another fight that, just doing a little bit of research, from what I can tell, it seems like the unanimous consensus is you should have won the fight, right? You probably already know which one I'm talking about. I think it was Bobby Pacquiao.
Yes, correct. With Bobby Pacquiao, that was considered on Ring Magazine, I'm quoting, robbery of the year. And it was, I remember that fight being shown in England, and the commentators there were like, what are these judges looking at? Boxing is also there's a little bit of favoritism,
politics.
Politics. Correct. Politics is very, it's a popularity contest as well. Who you are, what your name is. And so I wasn't filling up the arenas like these people were. Because the Salvador, boxing is not a sport for the country. The country of El Salvador, what they love is soccer. And soccer is their number one sport and only sport.
And it's a pretty small country too,
yeah,
right?
It's the smallest country, but in Central America. But what we wanted is to bring in that boxing, that we could also do other things, other than soccer. We could do boxing, So soccer, we don't even make it to the World Cup qualifiers. So I wanted to represent my country in boxing. So
I love it.
That's what I did.
Kind of touch on a little bit. Obviously you're two-time world champion. You have a lot of success. But you also have a lot of near misses, right? Because you go 12 rounds with Floyd Mayweather. You go 12 rounds with who was your mentor? What was his name?
Carlos Hernández.
Yeah, really good boxer there.
Well, to me, he was one of, if not one of the best at that weight division of all time. So that guy was a great fighter, and he gave me a shot, which I probably wasn't ready to fight him at that time, but I took it because it was just the opportunity. And he did tell me, he said, if I have to lose my title to anybody, I want to lose it to you. But I know he doesn't want to lose it, so because he's a fighter himself. And God rest his soul, he passed away 10 years ago from cancer. But he's a guy that, I'll always have in my heart.
Yeah, mentor of yours, and got to, step in the ring with your mentor and fight him toe to toe.
No,
that's a big
I
deal.
can see it in his eyes. Yeah, this was serious business, and just a guy that was very humble. He was close to the community in South Central LA, and somebody I'll always cherish in my heart.
It's beautiful. So he had that fight there, a close fight against Mayweather, get the robbery of the year against Pacquiao. Also fought Jesus Chavez as well. And
split decision where they didn't. He touched the canvas with his glove, and they didn't count it a knockdown, which, it should have been a knockdown, but you lose. So then we were set up for a rematch, and instead of fighting me for big money, he chose to fight somewhere else for less money. But the opportunity was for him to fight for a world title. He took that opportunity, but then he kills the guy, and so the guy dies. Then he fights again, Jesus Chavez, but he's not the same anymore. So it was kind of like, it was I thought it was more of a bad business decision on his part not to face me, because we would have made so much money together just having a big trilogy. And he chose to be champion, which is great, but the outcome was sad and tragic.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even know that, hearing that live. That's crazy. So what I want to get into a little bit is, how do you handle, obviously you had a lot of success, but also lots of near misses that could have really brought you to a whole nother stratosphere when it comes to boxing. I mean, just a couple of little decisions here and there.
Correct. Even financially, I mean, it just makes a big difference. But those are the things that you just have to prepare for and learn from, and be emotionally and mentally strong that, you know what, I mean, it didn't happen. What am I going to do? I can't cry about it. We got to move on. We have to look for solutions and keep going with life, because if you get stuck, it's a hard hole to get out of.
Love it. And we're going to drop the video in the show notes, but you have a post-fight video from when you won your second world title, and you deliver a very emotional, impactful speech, and you're crying, you're tearing up, you know what I mean? You're emotional because you just won a world championship, and you're pouring your heart out, and you're just telling people your story and telling people how hard you worked to get where you're at. And in that moment, you could just see it all over your face that you finally got to it. But you have a quote from that post-conference, from that interview, perseverance pays off, right?
Yeah, which is, it's a quote that people use. Everyone's used it, but I grabbed it as mine, because I wasn't going to let my losses define me. And so I was going to win. I wasn't going to be denied. I was going to win a world title. And thank God I did.
Yes, you did. And I love hearing your mindset. I mean, that's just the mindset of a winner. And another thing, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but you said something earlier that you told one of your friends you were going to be a world champion long before you were a world champion. Give us some context on, where were you at in that moment? Did anybody know who you were? Were you an established boxer?
We were in high school. And there were gang members, and so I didn't want that life for me. And there was one trip that I made, which was to Tahiti, from LA to Tahiti. And I was part of the LA team fighting the French team in Tahiti. And so I won. We had 2 fights there. I won I won both fights, but the style that I brought was crowd pleasing, and they would call me Le Pitbull, because I had that style, that aggressive style. And so that was my nickname over there. The people would call me Le Pitbull, Le Pitbull. And so after our wins, we went to go celebrate, and we went to a club, and I just saw how beautiful these women were, and classy and gorgeous. These French Tahitian women, mainly French, because it was kind of like an upper class kind of thing, and the locals, the Tahitians, were more like the workers, and they don't party as much. It was more of the echelon of the French people there. And I just saw these gorgeous looking guys and with their women, and I was like, my God, this is crazy. I felt out of place. I had a vato type mustache, and I had a white T-shirt. It was hot, and I was hot over there. And I was wearing some wool pants. They're kind of dressy, but they had the I forgot what you call it, where they look like pachuco pants. Those kind
like
of pants,
the drawstring, like linen pants, like
yeah, like they're like linen, yeah, but or
like
wool,
beach style?
actually like wool, but they look like the old pachuco gangster style of those were the pants that I was wearing, and I just felt so embarrassed, kind of like I felt out of place, like, you know, and I saw everyone dressed very nice, and then I asked for a soda, a 7-Up. It was $18. This was back in 1989. I'm like, dang, $18, my guy. I didn't have $18 on me for a glass of Sprite. And so I asked the guys, hey guys, you know, help me out, pay for this. The guys I was with. So we took care of it, and I just said, you know, I want to change my life. I want to look nice. I want to dress like these guys. I want to have a beautiful woman and on my side, and I want to change the way I am. I don't want to be that hood rat that I was on my path to. And so I came home from that trip, and first thing I did was shave my mustache. And so I remember my mom saying, "What did you do?" Because now I had no hair here, but it looked like I had a big lip. And so she was like, "What did you do?" Because I look like Pancho Villa type, you know, with that the whiskers there. And I'm like, I had to get rid of that. And once I did that, I felt different. Then I started changing. I started dressing different. I mean, I was still dressed, you know, somewhat the same at times, but I slowly started knowing that I wanted something else instead of that LA hood life, and I wanted to get out of that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like to me you really changed your identity.
Yeah, totally. That was one of the first things I felt is I needed to change the way. And my father always wanted that as well for me. He wanted me to always dress nice. He didn't want me to dress like a gangster. He didn't like it. I would change. I would dress like a little schoolboy, but then around the corner I would change because I didn't want that. You know, it's not what I wanted. You know, but my father was a tough guy, so you know I had to dress like I was a schoolboy, but then around the corner I would change and dress hood.
Yeah, and want to come back to that because you know changing your environment is really huge. When you change your environment, you know you really give yourself a chance to be successful because you open up your eyes to what's possible and you get other positive influences instead of negative influences. But I want to go back. You know, you said you were in Tahiti and you see this vision. You see this vision of a different lifestyle, a different path of, you know, nobody that I know, they don't live like this. They don't buy $18 7-Ups. They don't hang out with these beautiful women in the club.
Yes.
I don't want this life. I want that life over there. And then you see a path to get there. Right? Hey, I'm pretty good at boxing. This can be my way out. This can be my way to that upper echelon lifestyle and, you know, chase my dreams and do the things that I want to do, right? So talk to us a little bit, and this is specifically for the young men out there, right, that maybe we're in a similar situation that you're in, where not running with the best crowd, maybe have their identity tied up around their friend group and stuff like this. And sometimes as a young man, it's really hard to think in the future of who you want to be, and you really live in the moment and you enjoy life, experience life. But talk to us a little bit about, I guess, changes you make around, like, changing your associations, changing who you hang around. Like, if you're a person that I'm in this gangster lifestyle and I want to get out, whether it's boxing or another sport or, you know, some type of professional career, it doesn't matter. There's a million ways to kind of change your situation and get out of where you're at. What's some advice you give to that person to kind of go from, you know, get out of the gangster lifestyle and start to build that life that you want?
No, yeah, I mean, it's something that, you know, you have to look at as what do you want. You have to see yourself in the future and see what is it that you want for your future, for your family, for yourself. I saw that. I would look ahead, and I didn't want to see myself like these guys were going, and their families. I just saw it, and I saw the same thing within my family. You know, it's just, you see, I'm first generation Salvadoran American, and so in the hood, man, you just see just hardworking families. They work together, they live together, but they're like three families in one home or apartment. So, you know, I wanted my own identity, but that was fighting all the time to create that Salvadoran American, doing it for El Salvador. So I basically had dreams. I created my dreams. I saw it, and I took it, and I just tell everybody to not put those dreams aside, or don't think they don't come true, because if you put in the work, they do come true. They do. I mean, I totally believe that if you do put time into it, something good is going to happen.
I truly believe 100%. You can accomplish anything you want to accomplish as long as you want to accomplish it bad enough.
Yeah, correct. I mean, if you say you don't get there, but at least you tried, and I think that's the main thing. That's what I try to teach my kids, is at least try. And so it's I think it's the same thing that I say to the youth of El Salvador is try. Don't think that your dreams are not worthy. You can, and don't think they're silly, because some people may think they're silly. Oh, you're not going to do it, because a lot of times a lot of those people that are around are very negative. And so you just have to have that protective shield and let that bounce off and say, I can do it. I will do it. I can, I dare, I will.
You can't let other people, their self-limiting beliefs, project that on you.
Yeah, correct. I mean, they think that, oh, that's not going to happen. You know, I've had people tell me, oh, you're not going to do it. You know, and so I just chuckle.
Watch me, right?
Correct, exactly.
Love it. I've got a saying that belief plus action equals results, because you can believe all day long. If you don't do any work, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And you can do a lot of work, but if you really don't believe in yourself or believe in your vision, I don't think it's going to really translate to a lot of results for you. So I think it's a two-part thing. It's belief, right? It's that manifestation. It's that visualization. It's being positive, believing in yourself. And then it's going to do the actual work, right? Putting in the activities, the sweat equity, if you will, so you can achieve those results.
So true. I mean, I just remember running. Those were probably one of the best times of my life, is when I had these runs, these long runs, and I'm just by myself, just hearing my heart race, and talking to God and thanking Him for where I'm at, even though I haven't gotten there yet, but I knew I was going to get there. And so it was just amazing to visualize and see and hear your name just resonating in your brain. Famoso. It's inspiring. And so that really pushed me to keep going. I wanted to stop, but I had to keep going to the light, you know, because, you know, how I was running, you know, and for boxing, you have to run, you have to be in shape. And sometimes you just don't want to run. You want to stay home, and running's too hard. It's cold or it's hot, some kind of excuse, but you have to do it if you want to be. Because, like you said, I'm short. I'm not fast. I don't have the qualities of a natural born fighter, but I had something else. I had determination. I had that grit. I wasn't going to stop.
Yeah, it's hard to beat somebody that won't quit, right? It's really hard to beat somebody that does not give up and won't quit. And, you know, boxing is obviously a physical sport, but it's very much a mental sport.
It's mental
as
sport.
well.
Absolutely. I believe that 100%, that it's first, it's 100% mental. then well, maybe 90% and 10%, or it's just there's a higher percentage is mental for boxing, because I mean, there's guys that could beat you already just by you looking at him, and the guy will shrink because he's not sure of himself, and he could be probably better prepared or just naturally better, but if he's not right here, it's not gonna go well.
It's game over. Right.
Yeah.
That's what you see from a lot of the top boxers is they really believe they are the best and nobody can tell them any different. And even if it's not true, they walk in that ring and they think, I'm the best boxer that's ever lived and I'm about to beat the crap out of you.
Well, one thing that I saw, because we're fighters are all different, their techniques are different. Mine, of course, are different than other fighters that have done a lot more than I have. And like Manny Pacquiao is... he would be smiling and happy and joyful, and he was about to tear some guy's head off and go 12 rounds with him. And but he would go into the fight game with so much joy that I didn't really understand it, because I was different. I was so more focused, more visualization, more into channeled into that. And not him. He was more but he's probably the best fighter ever. One of the best fighters to ever lace him up.
No doubt, for sure. And another thing that I noticed when I was doing my research about you, and I thought this was very honorable, is almost every opponent that you would fight, they would really talk crap about you, right? They would just try to, before the fight, you know what I mean? They would try to their little, verbal jabs, if you will. And you'd be like, he's a nice guy. He's a good boxer. It's going to be a good fight, right? You wouldn't talk about your opponent a whole lot.
Maybe I should have, for financial reasons, because it builds up the fight a lot more. But I just was more of a focused kind of fighter. I wanted to respect my opponent. I don't care what he said. It's just more fuel. He would add more fuel to the fire, basically. But I was just like, I don't want to talk bad about the guy, and I got to do what I got to do, and that's try to win.
Get in there and take care of business.
Yeah.
So love it. Another thing I want to touch on just a little bit. We also have some pretty successful kids as well, and I think that's something to be said about that, because to be able to create a good life for yourself is one thing, but then to be able to pass that down to your kids and teach them principles that give them an upper hand in life, it gives them an advantage, because you went out and you fought so hard and you did so many things in your life. You were able to say, hey son, hey daughter, look, these are some of the things that I've learned about being a professional boxer and competing at a high level, becoming a world champion. It takes a lot of different ingredients to get there. But son is an all-state soccer player, and daughter is I believe a gold medal Olympian for Junior Olympics.
For the Pan American Games, she was a gold medalist in 2017 in Florida. And so, my kids, thank God, have been able to excel in their sport because of the mindset, that winning mindset, and learning from your defeats. And I think the mom, Veronica, and we've tried to do our best to raise kids to want to be better than just the average of just living life. I wanted them to search for something bigger, something better for them and for their future. I mean, but always thanking God, always having family, and for who they represent, which is, they're Americans, but they also represent. So my kid is they're half Salvadorian and half Mexican. So I don't want them to forget where they come from or who they are, and to be authentic.
Love it. And you touched on gratitude and trying to instill that into your kids. And another thing you said earlier was you're very grateful for your accomplishments and the things that you were going to accomplish. and you were grateful for them before you even got them. And I think that's, a really important note that people can kind of take home is if you can really, generally be grateful for where you're at, right? Because I'm a big believer, if you're not grateful for what you have right now, why is God going to give you more? Why is he going to give you more if you're not grateful for what you have? So being grateful for what you have right now, and then, forecasting that future of, I'm going to manifest this. I'm going to be a world champion. I'm going to be very grateful for it. I'm going to feel that feeling right now, what it feels like to be a world champion before it even happens. Kind of touched on that, instilling gratitude in your kids. So I don't want the viewers to miss that little nugget, because I think gratitude is extremely, extremely powerful. I'm a big believer that the more you can practice gratitude, the more you're going to get. I really believe that. I think a lot of people, they like to complain. They like to not be grateful for what they have, and that's a really big downfall that I see people have, is just not being grateful, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, it is. It's it comes natural to the humans. It's human nature, right? Not to be grateful, just to go on living and wanting more and more, and it's that that self-indulgence, I think, that we all fall into. I mean, I've fallen many times in my life, but I thank God that those moments, those hard times in my life have come so I could learn not to do those or repeat those, because there's many things that I do regret doing in my life that I wish I wouldn't have done. But at the end, I thank God for giving me what I have, and especially my children and my family is having that close family knit that we have, and I thank God for that.
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. So, we probably talked about just about every topic that I wanted to cover today, Carlos. Anything at all you wanna share? Any other tidbits? Any other mindset tricks, or anything at all that you want to bring to the viewers before we close it out today?
I would just mainly just thank you for having me on your show. It's been it's always good to go back and think what I've done, and it's been a blessing, and but also to tell the viewers to really believe in yourself. And it's not just in sports, it's in life, it's in business, it's in whatever you want it to be. You have to always find solutions and look for that, have that positive and winning mindset. I truly believe that, and I try to instill that into my kids as well. So, I just think it's very important that you do as well, and believe that there's always the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep. Light at the end of the tunnel. Perseverance pays off. You can. There's one I also love. It's from a friend of mine. He's one of my best buddies. He's the first world Danish box world champion, 2-time world champion, and his thing was, I can, I dare, I will, and that always stuck with me. Mm-hmm. And I always say, I'm going to use that. His name is Johnny Breedall, and now he lives in Africa and enjoying his retirement, but we're still close friends. And but it was something that I always thought was brilliant and beautiful, was to believe in, I can, I dare, and I will. I love it. Beautiful, beautiful saying. And shout out to Johnny in Africa for bringing us
He's Danish, but he lives in Africa, and I think in Uganda. Crazy.
Beautiful. Well, he brought some knowledge to the listeners today all the way from Africa, so absolutely love that. And we want to thank Mr. Carlos for coming on today. Just sitting here listening to his story in person, I've already been impacted from it and learned a lot from it, so I know that the viewers are going to absolutely love this episode. And if you're watching this episode, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Share being the most important thing there, people. I can almost guarantee you there's somebody on your friends list, Facebook, Instagram, so on and so forth, that they're sitting here, they're struggling, they need a little bit of positivity, they need some motivation, they need to watch something that might impact them and help them in their lives. So I'm always going to ask that you share these videos And thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you for tuning in. That wraps up our latest episode of Move the Needle with Mr. Carlos Hernández, 2 times world champion. Thank you guys for tuning in. Love you. Bye.
Whether you think you can or can't, just know you're right. Arrange your mindset and stand at different heights. Put all your energy on things you know are right. And never settle for a loss when in a fight. Yeah, we move the needle. From E to full, move the people. From move the needle. From E to full, move the people. Love thyself, love thyself.